Welcome everyone who have joined the webinar Family Culture that supports change making. We were told that there were more than 240 people will be joining. I will give a little bit more time for people to start coming in. And before we start, actually, I want to say some technical thing. If you're joining now in the YouTube, via YouTube, please go to the Zoom link that is put in the comments, because there will be two languages used in this webinar, Indonesian and English. So if you are not a speaker of both languages, please join the webinar via the Zoom link, so you can get a simultaneous translation, both for Indonesian speakers or English speakers. How are we? Okay, good. So welcome everyone again for the webinar Family Culture that supports change making. If you need Indonesian translation, then please go to the translation button and choose Indonesian. And if you are English speakers only, please choose the translation button for English, because the speakers of this webinar will speak in both languages. And so this webinar is a very, very special one, because this is originally a leadership talk series called Coffee for Change that is created by Ashoka and in partnership with Sage Foundation and S&P Foundation. So in this space, we talk about various different issues for change maker and social entrepreneurs. However, this edition, we are bringing the Coffee for Change session at the Get Wiser Summit, created by the Ashoka in the MENA region. And this summit, Get Wiser Summit, is very, very special because it galvanized wonderful speakers of women from all over the world who have been very, very successful change makers. And they talk a lot of different issues on women leadership, and and many other interesting topics. So please check out the Get Wiser program. And if my colleague can put it in the chat, you can access any other series from this conference in the link. So now let's begin this webinar by, I would like to ask you if you joined this webinar because you have a question about how to cultivate change making in your family, or if you have any other place of curiosity, things that you'd like the panelists to discuss, please put it in the link so that we can see, the questions in your mind. Thank you. And so we created this webinar because Ashoka saw the new reality is coming and is present now. And this reality means that we can no longer predict what will happen in the future. The acceleration of digital disruption, climate change. Also, we've seen the pandemic has changed our society in ways that has never happened before. So we need to ensure our children see this reality as well and grow up as change makers, as people who can navigate through the change and lead in time of change. What does it mean, and how do this? I would like to invite my colleague Anjali, who is the Vice President of Empathy from Ashoka Africa, to introduce to us two wonderful panelists. Anjali.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amelia. Good morning, everyone. I guess that depends on where you're tapping into. It is such a pleasure to be with you this morning. And as my co-moderator stated, we are joined by powerhouse mothers from all over the world. So I couldn't be more excited to chat with you all, to learn about some of these change-making skills and tools and things that you're doing within your families and within the mothers that you reach their families to produce these young people so that they can thrive in the world today. And I'd also like to thank the Get Wiser Summit team, because this is my second day of participating, and I'm just really, the content of the conversations has been so powerful. So I'm just really excited to be joining today with my co-moderator, Amelia. And I can't wait to get to the introduction of these powerhouses that are here with us this morning. But I just wanted to start off by saying, Amelia touched on the fact that we're in a rapidly changing world. And the way that we used to do things, perhaps when we were younger or when our parents were younger, the metrics for success in terms of, doing the same thing, learning something in school, mastering it, and then getting a job and doing that over and over and over again is no longer how you will thrive. Change making is one of those core competencies that we believe every single young person, in fact, every person needs in order to thrive in this quickly changing world. Some of those change-making skills are empathy, working in teams, a new form of leadership that's not hierarchical, and just being able to do creative decision-making. So just to introduce myself, and we believe that every young person needs to master empathy. That's that foundational core competency, that skill that is really important that they need to learn and then to practice so that they can go on to be these change makers. So that leads me to who I am, Anjali Ezilo. So I am an Ashoka Fellow, and I'm a fellow because of my work. I'm a founder of Greening Youth Foundation, which is an environmental international nonprofit organization whose mission is to connect underrepresented young people, particularly young people of color, to the outdoors and careers in conservation. I did that because I saw that young people who were coming from various ethnicities and marginalized communities weren't connected to the outdoors period, but also to careers in the environmental sector. So as a mom, because I'm a mother of two amazing young men, they're not little boys anymore, they're 23 and 20. Golly, can't believe. But anyway, I needed a moment right there. But this organization that I found, it started when they were young and in elementary school, and I just saw that there was a major gap. So that's why this came about. But after being the CEO and founder of Greening Youth Foundation for 17 years, I stepped down, and now I'm in a role of Vice President of Empathy for Ashoka Africa. And I'm just so excited to be with you all today because you all are change makers already. So I would love to just kind of start with hearing about what your initiatives are that is promoting change making within a family culture, and what your platform is and how you're bringing this to your online communities or to your worlds that you interact with. And I'd love to start with you, Septi.
Ya, halo, selamat sore semuanya. Halo Angelo dan Amelia. Nama saya Septi Penny Wulandani. Saya Fellow Ashoka tahun 2007. Dan hari ini kita akan bersama-sama untuk belajar bagaimana membuat sebuah perubahan, khususnya mulai dari dalam rumah kita. Saya mendirikan komunitas yang bernama Ibu Profesional, yaitu bagaimana sebuah wadah bagi para perempuan untuk bisa meningkatkan kualitas dirinya sebagai seorang perempuan, sebagai seorang ibu, dan sebagai seorang istri. Saya meyakini bahwa perubahan itu milik semua orang. karena dunia ini berubah dan akan terus berubah. Dengan pola itulah maka ibu, khususnya perempuan, khususnya adalah ibu, ini memegang peranan penting dalam sebuah arus perubahan di dunia ini. Karena ibulah sosok yang terus dilihat oleh anak muda. Dari mulai dalam rahimnya sampai dia tumbuh dan menjadi dewasa, dia akan melihat ibunya. Maka ketika seorang ibu ini bisa memberikan contoh perubahan, maka lama-kelamaan akan muncul yang changemaker dari dalam rumah. Tidak perlu lagi mulai dalam sebuah organisasi besar, tapi kita mulai dari komunitas terkecil, yaitu rumah kita, yaitu keluarga kita. Dan ini akhirnya terjadi di Ibu Profesional tahun 2011, saya memulainya dengan seorang diri, ya, karena ini adalah sesuatu yang menjadi permasalahan pada diri saya, yaitu saya menjadi seorang ibu rumah tangga, dan ternyata ibu rumah tangga di Indonesia itu adalah kaum yang termarginalkan, tidak dihargai, dianggap sebagai perempuan pengangguran. Dari situlah saya mulai berpikir bahwa ini akan bahaya sekali andai kata para perempuan yang langsung bertemu dengan anak-anak muda, yaitu anak-anaknya, merasa tidak percaya diri dengan perannya sebagai seorang ibu. Karena sebuah sistem besar di Indonesia, di masyarakat kita, ternyata tidak menghargai proses menjadi seorang ibu rumah tangga ini. Nah, akhirnya kami punya prinsip, for things to change, I must change first. Jadi kalau ingin mengubah sesuatu, maka mulailah dari dalam diri kita terlebih dahulu. Dan itu saya mulai dari dalam keluarga. Kemudian ketika dalam keluarga muncullah obrolan-obrolan setiap hari tentang changemaker, bagaimana kita bisa mengasah empati dari dalam rumah, bagaimana kita bisa membangun tim sebagai sebuah home team dengan keluarga A gitu ya, dengan keluarga dengan kualitas A gitu, dengan quality. Nah, di sanalah maka terbentuklah anak-anak terbiasa dengan konsep-konsep changemaker dari sejak dia lahir dan menjadi anggota di dalam rumah tersebut. Maka seiring berjalannya waktu, anak-anak akhirnya terbiasa dengan konsep changemaking skill-nya terbangun di dalam rumah, dan ini ditularkan kepada ibu-ibu lain di Indonesia, dan akhirnya muncullah jaringan puluhan ribu ibu untuk bisa memahami changemaker skill, dan hari ini hadir para Changemaker Mother yang datang dari Indonesia dan bersama-sama belajar di Coffee for Change ini. Terima kasih untuk Asoka dan terima kasih untuk Coffee for Change pada sore hari ini.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Septi. And I know that you're an Ashoka Fellow as well, right?
Iya, saya Ashoka Fellow tahun 2007.
Fantastic, fantastic. Next, I'd like to go to Yeti Williams so that we can hear all about Lagos Moms.
All right, hello. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you again for inviting me. I'm excited to be here. And in terms of Lagos Moms, who I am, what I do, so my name is Yeti Williams. I'm a mom of two. My children are 14 and 12. And it feels like they're going on 30 because some conversations we have feel like I'm talking to an adult. And, you know, in terms of being a change maker, I actually started looking into that phrase and what it really meant when I was preparing for this webinar today. And I realized that sometimes you don't even realize that's what you're doing when you're leading with passion. You're leading with a need to see change yourself. And you're very thankful when you look back. Lagos Moms is now over 10 years old. I started when I was a stay-at-home mom with a toddler and a baby. And I just realized that, you know, parenting is much more than having a child and hoping for the best, right? And I could tell very early on from back then that technology was going to be a major player in our lives. And that is what is making parenting seem so challenging and so difficult. It's because we're raising children in an environment that we're aliens. And it's very difficult for aliens to be raising natives. Right. So we're having children in a world that they're all digital natives. They are born technologically enabled. You give a 2-year-old a device and they seem to know exactly what to do. You know, your teenager can figure out your phone much more than you can. So it can almost feel as if you don't know what you're doing. And if a parent is coming from a place of, I don't know, or I feel lost, or I fear the uncertainty. And your children sniff that. I call it sniffing, because once they can tell that mom or dad don't get it and they feel they can't trust you, that's the end. So, I've been talking about parenting, intentional parenting. Technology plays a big part. People can say there's going to be a parent born every day. The reality is that we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which means that the future is uncertain. We are no longer talking about raising children for the world we knew, but we're raising them for a world that keeps changing. So by default, what our children need to succeed in the future is so different from what we needed, right? So we need them to be flexible. We need them to be able to adapt to change. We need them to have empathy. We need them to understand that they actually have a responsibility to be a responsible digital citizen, right? And that's not something we can leave to chance. So for me, parenting and raising a global citizen, because my child can be sitting in Lagos, Nigeria, but he or she can have friends in China, in Australia, in any part of the world. And that is what is happening. No longer will we say that we know our children's influence 100%. We don't know because they're exposed to a digital world. Now, I'm very careful that we don't create a sense of scaremongering. So scaremongering is, it's all bad. Don't do it. Get off. No, that's not the way to win. The way to win is to teach them how to show up and to do three things as a parent. And I'll end on that since this is the intro. Parents have to constantly educate their children about being ready for the future, which is here. We have to empower our children to make the right choices and the right decisions. So they have to understand that they have a part to play. And lastly, I always say that we have to rinse and repeat. We have to empathize, first of all, to understand that their world is so different. So when you realize that their world is different, parents, please today stop saying things like "in my days." Forget it. You can't say that. You can't say "in my days" because it is so different. It's like an alien speaking to a human. It's totally different. So let's educate them. Let's empower them. Let's empathize with them because their world is different. It doesn't mean we should throw out common sense and values. No, but when you empathize, you come from a place of connection and understanding. And then lastly, rinse and repeat. You can't say because I talked to them about the digital world January last year, I'm done. No, it's an ongoing, continuous conversation. So for me, that's what Lagos Moms is all about, is the community to realize that we're raising global citizens. Nobody has all the answers. I say Lagos to the world. When I started, it was a small stay-at-home mom idea. And here we are a decade later, and we are making impact, helping parents raise children in the age that we live in. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Yeti. That was so powerful. Thank you so much. Nadia, I'd love to come over to you. I see you've adjusted your lighting and everything, so I think you're ready.
Yeah, I was running all around the place and now I'm settled. I have a nice view of the garden.
Beautiful backdrop.
Yeah, it's real. It's in the garden, so it's nice.
Oh, I thought it was virtual. It's a real backdrop.
Oh, no. Real, yeah, real palm trees, real garden, just for you, for everyone here.
I love it.
I'm so grateful to be here, Angelo, and I love listening to Yeti and Septi, incredible women, incredible change makers. I'm so humbled and grateful to be here. So if I would share my journey in a nutshell, it started off, I used to be a brand manager in P&G. And then when I gave birth, like my friends didn't give birth yet. I had no siblings. My mom couldn't remember anything when it came to taking care of a baby. So I was very lost and overwhelmed that there wasn't any support platforms here in Egypt to support new moms. Being a new mom, you have all those questions. You're so worried. You might go into postpartum depression. And in Egypt, we lack all sorts of support. Like the only support we get as moms is just, have your baby. Here's your baby. Good luck, So, and husbands here in Egypt as well, or spouses, they also lack the knowledge and lack the support, and they put a lot of pressure here on women just to raise the kids. They don't fill your cup, you have to fill everyone's cup. So it's like so crazy here in Egypt. So I was so frustrated that I started my support platform for moms, which is called Rahet Bally, which translates into peace of mind for moms, from my hospital bed. So I was there, my baby was like 2 hours old. And I started creating a Facebook page and a group and asking all the doctors I know to start logging in and giving moms Yeah, I was so upset and I was so overwhelmed. I was like, I have to do something about it. I'm not a tree and I hate this. And the only support we had, like if you would log online to like Baby Center and those things, and they're all like in the UK, in the US, there's nothing local tailored to this Egyptian mom. So this is how it started out. And in a month, we had over like 3,000 doctors and experts on the platform supporting moms free of charge on everything related to child support,
Wow, Nadia, that's
gynecology, sex
amazing.
therapy. It was amazing, Angela. It felt like moms can really get the well-deserved peace of mind they need with a click of a button and have all the answers to their questions. They can also have like over-the-counter medications as well. They can have everything they need, and they can start connecting to other moms going through the same experiences and kids with the same age, so they can gain togetherness and positivity. So this is how it started. And then with every problem I had, I started developing a solution to it. So I then started having problems affording all those crazy things you need to buy for your baby and all the services and all the healthcare. So I launched Egypt's first discount app for moms where they can actually get massive discounts on everything they need for their children to lead a better quality of life. And it's absolutely free of charge. So moms started using it and enjoying better access to education, to healthcare, to real estate, to transportation, to afford a better quality of life. And then another problem arose when I wanted to lose weight and get back in shape, and I didn't know where to leave my baby or where to go. And you know, all those gyms in Egypt, they're very like, you either have to be like so posh and you look so nice or stuff, or you just have to go with your baby and feel like an alien. So we started off our own full-fledged fitness and nutrition facilities for moms, powered by free babysitting services, free kids activities, breastfeeding rooms, diaper changing rooms, and moms started to actually get proper access to fitness and nutrition.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I
Nadia,
don't want to run out of time.
amazing.
Thank you,
No, no,
Angela.
no, no. Thank you for sharing. Amazing, amazing. And I know that you have like so many followers, as all of you do. So we really are excited to hear, you know, what you worked on after 2 hours of birth from your child in the hospital bed. So incredible, incredible. Pallavi, how about you? Can you share some of your change making journey with us? Uh-oh, you're still silenced.
I
There
need
you
to
are.
unmute myself now. Thank you so much for having me, and it's been, you know, really inspiring and fabulous listening to all the journeys so far. A little bit about me. So my name, of course, is Pallavi Iyer, and I'm the mother of 2 boys. They are now 10, going to be 11 tomorrow, and also a 12-year-old who's about to be 13. And you know, I mean, we've heard stories from around the world, from Indonesia, from Egypt, from Nigeria. In my case, even though I'm from India, I think the journey has been seriously global, and I'll explain to you why. My husband is Spanish. My first child was born in China. My second child was born in Belgium. They went to kindergarten in Indonesia and primary school in Japan, and we are now in Spain. In
Oh my
Madrid.
God.
So yes, so you know, there has been a lot of layers to this journey of motherhood, and currently I write a column for an Indian magazine called Money Control, which is called My Family and Other Globalizers. So the name kind of tells you all. But I'm a writer. I'm a journalist, a columnist, a foreign correspondent. And in my sort of day job, my normal life, it's been a very sort of male-dominated field where children have no place. You know, most of my work has been covering high politics and financial crises and trade and business, politics, all of that. And then, you know, in 2008, I had my first son. In 2011, my second. And I realized that this kind of division between what we call the sort of public world of work and high politics and so on, and then this private world of the domestic, of motherhood, of child rearing, this division that we have is a really artificial and harmful division. And that in many ways, there was less talk about preparing for the sort of psychological and physical impact of motherhood in the public sphere than there is about black holes or the price of onions. And so, you know, I ended up over the last 10 or 12 years writing about parenting in a kind of sneaky way. I try to kind of bring in the lens of a mother, no matter what I happen to be writing about, even if it is about great power rivalry, wars, fiscal crises, or high politics, because in practical and also in less tangible ways, being a mother has really shaped how much time I have to work, to think, to be. And, you know, in many ways, your brain, it becomes prismatic, shattered in less literary terms. It loses its single beam focus. And it also shapes the lens through which you look at the world, through which you interpret it. And as I said, it's convinced me of the wrongness of these boundaries between the personal and the political, the domestic and the public, that the public intellectual has for so long embodied. And I think, as was brought up by Nadia, you know, in the past, at least, there was a sense that if anything needs to be taught or learned about parenting, it would be transmitted within families from mother to mother. And I'm not sure if this was ever an adequate methodology, but I think in the 21st century, in the globalized world that we live in, it is glaringly insufficient. Many of us do not live with our mothers. The kind of situation that our mothers confronted when we were born was very different technologically, medically, in terms of information, to the one that we confronted, so that, you know, whatever advice they could pass on wouldn't necessarily be valid anymore. And so I wrote a book. I sort of took a break from writing my usual books about, you know, China. I've written books about China, Japan, Europe, and I did one called Babies and Bylines, Parenting.
I love that title.
Yeah.
That's great.
And, you know,
That's
it was
great.
kind of looking at all the very eternal questions that we have about how mothers juggle, about how they have to kind of find ways of, if not doing it all, at least doing many different things at different points in their lives.
That's awesome.
And it was
That's
interesting.
awesome.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear about, you know, how things have changed. And, you know, there's obviously a focus in this particular session on the need for flexibility and the fact that we have a very technologically charged world and the future of work is very uncertain. But I also think that, you know, being a mother today or being a parent today is also not getting caught up in how much is changing, but also in just drilling down to the basics. And I think the word that was mentioned by you at the outset, Angelo, which is empathy. Like, I think what we can really do as parents at home to create change is focusing on empathy, focusing on kindness, and also focusing on this regardless of the gender, because I'm the mother of 2 boys. Initially, I was quite disappointed.
Lots of boy moms here.
Yes. You know,
oh, sorry, Pallavi. I just don't know how we were thinking we could bring 4 powerful mothers together and talk for 25 minutes, Amelia. Whose idea was that? It's just not possible. I know we have all these questions, Pallavi. Sorry to cut you off, but I know that we're on a tight schedule, but how is this even possible, Amelia? I'm going to pass it over to you so that you can kind of throw the other question out there. And I'm going to ask everyone to kind of be very brief with your responses so that we can cover a little bit of ground. Amelia, over to you. Thank you, Pallavi.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. So a lot of the mothers and other parents who are joining us today would really, really like to, you know, to get more wisdom from you. So, you know, 10 years ago, there was this book, Battle Hymn of a Tiger Mother, who, you know, who has basically created like a wave of debate and fury among mothers. You know, the tiger mother is like a mother who like strictly carve a journey for the children and, you know, make sure that the children get into that path to success. And you know, there is a huge debate. We are not going to debate it here. Because, you know, we can go for 10 years debating it. But I'd like to ask you, you know, like you know, as mothers, what kind of principles or values or ideas that you preserve from what you get from your parents, but also how also do you innovate in your parenting? You know, I can begin with myself. I think you know, my parents want me to, you know, never let a problem just slip, if there's a problem, you face it. That's the kind of value I think that my parents give to me. But I grew as a change maker myself in the film world, building platform for documentary filmmakers so that audience have access to see the reality in a critical way. And so I bring this to my parenting, that I really want to curate and not just let my children watch anything that they want, but I kind of help them curate things that they watch. How about you? Maybe we begin with Nadia.
Sure. So I love the question, and there's so much I've learned from my parents that I'm preserving with my kids now. One of the most important lessons or values is that it's a very weird value, but it says if a day doesn't have a problem, then the day is useless. So we have to love problems and embrace problems, because without problems, we won't learn those solutions. And hence, in the morning, my grandma used to tell me, "Good morning, what are our problems today?" So I took this with my kids, I took this with my company, embracing and enjoying challenges, reacting to them with like resilience and patience, because they are the biggest blessings we can have to learn, grow, and evolve. And of course, another really beautiful value I've learned is empathy and unconditional love, and making sure our children know that no matter what they do, no matter what is happening, we have to give them reassurance that we love them at any point in time. Even when they're doing a disaster, you just stop them and just remind them that you love them. And this makes all the difference when dealing and doing all those beautiful new positive parenting techniques, is this kind of reassurance. I have so many other things, but I'll leave the floor to all the other beautiful women so we can have time. Thank you.
But then how do you innovate as well? Nadia, what kind of things that your parents didn't do to you, but you are doing now to your children?
Yeah. Okay, innovation of course comes with letting my children choose, because I don't think my parents did that with me back then. Right now, I empower my kids to choose where they want to go, what they want to wear, who they want to go out with. This kind of ability to choose makes them feel so much empowered and helps them thrive in today's world, because we live in a very new dynamic world with all the access to technology and options and choices. So making sure they actually have the willpower and freedom to choose within the right range is very, very important. And also something else that my parents wasn't doing and I'm doing with my kids now is having no punishments and no timeouts, because I don't believe in that. I believe in sitting, talking about the problem, and letting them decide if they were wrong or right in this specific situation. I know it's hard to do and it's hard to control your temper as a parent, but it's very important, in my perspective, to never punish kids or give them timeouts, because it just the disadvantages or the effects of it is more negative than positive. So let them decide, and then surprisingly, they're going to come back to you admitting that they were wrong. They will apologize, and they will not repeat it again if they understand and grasp that the reasons why it's wrong, and they take their own responsibility to the consequences without having to punish them for it. So those are the two things that are different with my generation, this generation versus the last one.
Wow, that's great, Nadia. Can we hear from Pallavi first? How
I think
what kind of things you keep from your parents? Yeah.
So I think what I've learned from my parents is to be the opposite of a tiger mom. And that was something that I actually had to fight a little bit, because, when my kids were in Indonesia, for example, when they were in kindergarten, I was surrounded by a lot of parents who were quite wealthy, who had access to a lot of resources, a lot of time, and they kind of channelized all this energy, resources, and time towards their little children who might be 3 years old or 4 years old, but were already in, like wushu classes languages and doing calligraphy and, becoming concert pianists at the age of 5. And I used to always feel like, oh God, what's wrong with my boys? They can barely squiggle and, hit a key. If they hit a key on the piano, that's like, this amazing achievement for them. And there I am cheering if they do like the smallest thing. And perhaps I should have like greater expectations of them. And I read that book, The Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mom, and she made this point, Amy Chua, the author, that, you need to push your children in the beginning because they will hate doing it, but that's because they're not good at it. And so it's only once they become good at it that they will start enjoying it. But to create that that virtuous cycle, which I actually think is a vicious cycle, but to create that virtuous cycle, you need to kind of go through years and years of pain to get them to that point. And I tried that a little bit with my boys, and I kind of quickly realized that this was not something that was working for me because it sort of drained all the enjoyment of your children from you. Like you began to see them as a project, and kind of making them be somebody rather than allowing them to be who they were. And so I realized that my own parents, they were busy with their life, with their work, and they didn't have the time or the inclination for all this kind of helicopter parenting that we have today, where you're spending every second of your day trying to kind of figure out what your child is doing. And so I've kind of very consciously avoided this helicoptering. My son is 13 years old, and already many of the people in his class are thinking about colleges and universities. And, I'm just kind of keeping away from that. I want him to find his own path. I want to provide opportunities, of course. I want to encourage his interests, of course, when they become evident, but I don't want to micromanage their time or their day. So I think that was something that I learned very much from my parents. And in terms of what I have to do differently is, of course, the sort of technological environment. The fact that when I was a child, the only entertainment I had was books. And so I naturally gravitated towards reading. And, as a professional, I'm a writer. And it's so much harder with children today who have instant entertainment on tap, which is easy entertainment. Whereas things like reading, writing, and creating are harder. And so I do try very consciously to create boredom, and to allow them to essentially have nothing to do so that they have to then go inwards and start finding things to do by using their own creativity. And that was difficult. Also, my younger son didn't enjoy reading when he was younger. And so I used to just read to him every night, and I didn't have any rules that he had to sit down and listen to me. He just had to be in the same room and with no gadgets. And this went on for about a year and a half of me droning on and reading. But then one day I realized he'd begun to listen. And today he's 11 years old and a voracious reader. So, it did work, just that kind of constant, persistent, low level persistent, not kind of making him read or punishing him with books, but just allowing him access to stories, to brilliant stories as a kind of constant hum in the background. So yeah, that would be my answer.
Wow, that's wonderful. How about you, Yeti? What do you do the same, and what do you do differently?
Yeah, great.
Parents?
So I'll start with what I do the same. And what I do the same is the fact that, your home should be a safe space. Your home should be a place where your children want to come, where your children feel safe. They feel they can be heard, they are connected with other people, their siblings, their parents, and the environment at home needs to be one that their friends want to come over to. And I think it's very important that that is something every home can offer. And I've consistently worked on that I want the home to be a safe space. When the children come home, they can forget about everything out there and know that they're good and bring their friends over. So that's definitely something I've continued and carried on to my home now and as a mom. Now, in terms of what I'm doing differently, so growing up, I'm a middle child, and I used to ask a lot of questions. I keep thinking that if I had Google, my goodness, I'll probably have spent all my time on Google. But I used to ask a lot of questions, and I used to ask why. And it was never enough if my mom said, because I said so. And I'll say, really, but that's not good enough. Why? And it used to frustrate her because she was just like, your brother is okay when I say whatever, and your sister is okay, your younger one. Why do you always have to keep going? Why? It makes sense now after the fact, because with what I'm doing, it's clear that I am somebody who's embraced the fact that you should have questions. It's okay to ask questions. Sometimes it's that muscle of asking questions and wanting to understand deeply that you can do things differently. Otherwise, you just continue to do what has always been done. So that's definitely something that I do differently. I encourage my children to ask questions. I never get frustrated. I never get tired. I never say, why are you asking? I understand that if they're asking me, guess what? It's a privilege, because right now your children don't need you for content. What they need you for is context. Our children can find anything they want online. So I see it as a privilege when my children come to me and they want to have conversations and they're asking questions. It gives me a chance to do two things: to listen to what picture they've already painted, and it gives me the opportunity to also weigh in based on what I do think about the particular matter. So those are the two things I'm doing and what I'm changing as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Ibu Septi memiliki 3 generasi changemakers dalam keluarga. Baik itu dari ibunya Ibu Septi sendiri maupun anak-anaknya. Jadi apa nih yang dilakukan berbeda dari ibu, dan tapi apa juga yang tetap dilestarikan?
Ya, terima kasih Amel. Ini hal yang menarik sekali karena 2 hal yang diturunkan oleh ibu saya itu adalah passion dan perseverance. Jadi ibu saya ini adalah orang yang sangat hidup dalam passionate semuanya. Jadi semua hal dari hari ke hari dia lakukan dengan passionate, mata berbinar. Kemudian kalau perseverance-nya, kalau ketika melihat masalah, ibu saya tuh senyum gitu. Jadi kalau melihat masalah itu kayak matanya berbinar gitu ya, wow gitu. Saya ada dibesarkan oleh ibu yang single parent. Bapak saya meninggal ketika usia saya 8 tahun. Nah disitulah ibu harus membesarkan seorang diri. Keempat anaknya, saya nomor 3. Dan ibu menghadapi berbagai macam masalah yang ada dalam kehidupannya, tapi tidak pernah dilontarkan kepada anak-anaknya sebagai suatu masalah. Ibu saya selalu mengubahnya menjadi sebuah challenge, sebuah tantangan. Dan itu yang saya lihat dari keseharian yang diturunkan oleh ibu saya. Kemudian apa yang tidak ada dalam ibu saya dan sekarang saya akan membuatnya sendiri, yaitu ibu saya seorang pegawai, tidak pernah rugi, tidak pernah gagal, tidak pernah bangkrut, ya, sehingga tidak ada kata gagal dalam kehidupannya, tidak ada kata bangkrut dalam proses usahanya, dan akhirnya itulah yang membuat saya akhirnya harus berani mendobrak sesuatu dalam keluarga saya bahwa it's okay to make mistakes as long as I learn from my mistakes. Jadi untuk selama anak-anak masih berada dalam naungan kami di keluarga, maka saya izinkan anak-anak untuk berbuat banyak kesalahan, mencoba hal-hal baru, gitu, sehingga kita akan belajar dari kesalahan-kesalahan tersebut. Dan inilah akhirnya yang membuat anak-anak berani untuk melakukan hal baru, berani untuk mendobrak. Kalimat yang muncul dari anak-anak adalah mengapa, kemudian bagaimana jika, dan mengapa tidak. Itu yang selalu ditanyakan oleh anak-anak. Maka ketika forum-forum di keluarga kami, itu selalu menengahkan adalah ngobrol bareng, main bareng, dan beraktivitas bareng. Ini yang tidak pernah saya dapatkan ketika saya kecil, karena ibu saya harus bekerja, ibu saya harus mencari nafkah untuk keluarganya, dan ibu saya jarang mendengarkan saya karena forumnya memang tidak ada. Nah, akhirnya saya memulai dengan membentuk keluarga baru bersama dengan suami saya, kemudian kami perbanyak area ngobrol bareng bersama dengan anak-anak, dan area ngobrol barengnya ini memberikan ruang kemerdekaan bagi anak-anak agar mereka menjadi pribadi yang merdeka. Pribadi yang merdeka itu adalah apa? Punya jati diri, kemudian mandiri, tidak bergantung kepada siapapun, ya. Kemudian berdaulat penuh atas keputusan yang diambil dalam hidupnya, sehingga tidak akan pernah menyalahkan orang lain ketika perjalanan hidupnya tidak sesuai dengan dirinya, bahwa itu adalah tanggung jawab mereka. Dan inilah yang akhirnya membuat anak-anak sekarang membuat banyak sekali perubahan-perubahan dalam dirinya, dan mereka menjadi yang changemaker untuk bisa melihat empati, mengubah empati itu menjadi sebuah aksi. Dan aksi-aksi inilah yang kami dorong di anak-anak untuk kami temani gitu. Oke, ibu sekarang akan menjadi temanmu. Teman belajar, bukan orang dewasa yang serba tahu gitu. Bukan orang dewasa yang serba tahu, tapi ibu adalah teman belajar bersama. Jadi di rumah kami prinsipnya adalah belajar bersama, tumbuh bersama, tidak ada yang mengajar, tapi kita belajar bareng, seperti itu.
Yeay, terima kasih banyak Ibu Septi. I'll give up the next question to Angela.
So thanks, Septi, and thanks everyone for those incredible responses. Now, I would love to take advantage of the various cultures that we have at the table right now with a question that perhaps, what do you do to promote agency within your child, in your culture, in your family? And if I can give a quick example, and I know Pallavi, you need to leave soon, but the thing that we did when my boys were young, during dinner, we would all go around the table and share a rose and a thorn. So a rose was something great that happened that day. And then we would go around and talk about the thorn, something that wasn't great, and that gave me an opportunity and gave my husband and I an opportunity to hear what's going on in our child's world, because sometimes they don't always share the things that they're, struggling with, but also to give them a voice and help them work through challenges. So can each of you share something that promotes agency or responsibility within your child? Pallavi, we'll start with you because I know you need to leave.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. No, it's a wonderful question. And, I think children today are already quite empowered, and some of that has to do with technology. And I feel that parental authority has been severely eroded by the existence of Google, because everything that my kids can ask me, when I answer it, they can kind of go and Google it after me and come back and tell me, you're wrong. You told me that, I don't know, the first war of Indian independence happened in 1886. It happened in 1885, so I'm like, oh, okay. So my kids have already a lot of agency, right? I don't think that we need to worry about that, but we have, they express themselves in a multiplicity of ways, and I encourage that constantly. We have, for example, a big sort of blackboard magnet that's stuck on our fridge, and the boys kind of teach us, the parents, new words that they've learned in different languages.
I love that.
They have friends from around the world in school. They go to an international school, so they often pick up languages like words in Polish or in Romanian or languages that we're not familiar with. And everybody kind of, when they learn a new word, comes back and writes that up. And then we have it at the
so like a teaching board.
Like a teaching board. And we are not the teachers. The kids are the teachers. That board is really for them.
I love that. I love that. Thanks, Pallavi.
Sometimes Yes, so that's one strategy.
Awesome. How about you, Nadia?
I love the question. I mainly do two things at home to help my kids become more responsible. First off, I love doing house chores with my kids. So every day, early morning, we do some cooking before they go to school. We do our own pancakes. We bake our own muffins. So these things make them feel like they are responsible to attribute to part of what we do. When they're back from school, we do laundry together. So all those things make them feel like they are really contributors and they're responsible. And if we don't do them, then they won't happen. So they feel like they are a main part of our daily responsibilities. Another thing I do to make them feel responsible without also putting pressure on them is a tactic we say here in Egypt is don't chide, but remind. It means like, for example, why haven't you finished your homework yet? Instead of saying, your homework is not done, we need to finish it right now. So by avoiding scolding and just reminding them of the things they need to do, they feel like they're always responsible. So like, why is the empty snack bowl lying in the living room? Why isn't it in the sink? Things like that. So all those reminding tactics makes your kids feel like, yes, I have to do it. Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot. So all of those tiny things make a difference with the kids, and they start feeling a lot more responsible.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Nadia. How about you, Yeti?
So one of the things I'm doing with the children on an ongoing basis, remember I mentioned earlier, it's about rinse and repeat. We have to continuously make sure that we're repetitive. It can feel like you're repeating yourself all the time, but we have to do it. If we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. And I keep saying that as parents, we're still the most influential influencers in our children's lives unless we give that opportunity and space up to somebody else. So one of the things I do with the children a lot is talk about the fact that no emotion in itself is wrong. Every emotion is simply an indicator. So teaching them to understand that how you're feeling is how you're feeling, that is valid. The question is, what do we do about it? So for example, I really love pickup from school. I think that's a golden moment that every parent should be using, because it's not just how was school today. They're going to tell you, fine, you haven't learned anything. But suddenly learning how to ask questions, what has surprised you today? What did you like today? Throwing questions such as, how was lunch? Was it great? You find that when you ask questions that draws them out and lets it be open, you pick up on emotions as well. So after school for me is really the golden hour. When I'm picking them from school, I make sure I'm not on any call. If I have a call, I will be like, I have to call you back. It's all of 5 or 10 minutes. So really spending time to go into how they're feeling, letting them, validating every emotion and helping them learn the language and the coping mechanisms to deal with it. I'm also in love with brain science. I've been learning a lot around how the brain works, how we learn, how neural pathways are working in our brains. And I found that children today have so much capacity to learn so much more than we think they can learn. So I have conversations with my children about things like the amygdala hijack. And so, you know, that's the kind of dinner conversations we have. So that means that if you allow emotions to lead you, you will take some decisions that you might regret later. So rather, how do we talk about that so that you can navigate how you are feeling? So that's definitely very different. You know, typical African parent is, what do you mean? Are you frowning at me? You're in trouble for frowning. But it's okay to frown. It's okay, right? It's okay to have different emotions. Who says they can't have those emotions?
Exactly.
The question is, what do they do with it? So that's a big one for me, emotion regulation.
Thank you, Yeti. Thank you. Emotions are great. You know, we want our children to express emotions. Septi, how about you?
Ya, terima kasih Angelo. Ini pertanyaan yang menarik karena kami selalu melatih anak-anak kami untuk bertanggung jawab dengan 2 hal. Yang pertama adalah memberikan pilihan kepada mereka. Kemudian yang kedua adalah mengajari mereka, melatih mereka agar bisa menjadi decision maker yang bagus. Nah, dari hal yang sederhana saja, yaitu ketika mereka ingin makan. Kami tidak memasakkan, kemudian mengambilkan makanannya dan memaksanya untuk memakan. Tapi kami menanyakannya, kamu mau makan yang mana? Nasi, sayur, buah saja, atau dicampur semuanya? Kemudian ayo ambil semampumu seberapa dan bertanggung jawab untuk menghabiskan. Karena itu keputusanmu, maka kamu harus menghabiskan apa yang sudah kamu putuskan. Nah, sampai kepada tahap memilih sekolah. Kami memberikan kebebasan kepada anak-anak. Ini ada sekolah A, B, C. Sekolah ini sudah kami pilih bahwa apapun yang mereka pilih, pasti kami mengatakan iya, karena kami sudah melampaui proses mengambil keputusan. Setelah itu, mereka andai kata mereka memilih untuk tidak mengambil jalur sekolah formal pun, kami izinkan. Saya akan ambil jalur yang berbeda, gitu ya, ambil jalur yang berbeda dengan yang lainnya. Maka kami izinkan. Kemudian kami pandu mereka untuk menjalankan keputusannya, dan kami gunakan setiap sepekan sekali untuk membuat forum yang namanya adalah mastermind. Forum mastermind ini kami menanyakan, apa yang sudah sukses pekan ini? Bagaimana ceritanya kamu sukses dengan pilihanmu itu? Kemudian pekan depan kamu pengen sukses apa? Sebulan sekali kami mengadakan forum yang namanya Fall Celebration, merayakan kesalahan. Oh, ternyata yang saya putuskan itu salah, tidak sesuai dengan perjalanan yang saya impikan, saya harapkan. Maka akhirnya kami punya forum. Ya, kami punya forum untuk mengatakan bahwa yang saya putuskan salah. Saya belajar dari kesalahan itu, dan akhirnya saya akan mengubah koordinat jalan hidup saya dengan proses yang seperti ini. Maka akhirnya kami hanya bisa bertepuk tangan, it's okay to make mistakes, as long as you learn from your mistakes. Jadi ini adalah sebuah apresiasi, gitu ya, sebuah apresiasi yang bisa kami berikan kepada anak-anak untuk untuk berani bertanggung jawab atas pilihan hidupnya dan tidak menyalahkan orang lain.
Yeah, that's really amazing because
that's fantastic. That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Septi. Amelia, I just want to say one quick thing before I turn it over to you. I know, are we at the end of time? We probably are, right? But the one thing that I wanted to just say is that how can we help large groups of parents support young people as change makers? How can we grow this? How can we get this message out to other parents so that these young people have what they need so that they can thrive in this new world? One of the things that I wanted to just throw out there is let's nominate some of these young change makers. You know, so if you have young people through all of your platforms that you're aware of that are doing incredible things, identifying issues or problems in their community, and then coming up with solutions to change that, please nominate them, because we would love them to be a part of our Ashoka Young Changemakers. And then the other thing is maybe creating, and I think Septi and Nadia, someone was alluding to, how about a Changemaker family challenge? Something that you do with your school community, religious community, or community organization in which you are basically, you know, creating, sharing examples of young change makers doing incredible things. And maybe they can share, you're doing this through social media. Then at the end of the month, you know, you're announcing the winners or sharing these stories out. So let's think of how we can continue to keep this movement going. But I will pass it back to you, Amelia. I don't know if we have time to do questions in the chat box. We have 252 people with us right now. So that's why I don't want this to end. This is so great. But Amelia, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Anjulu, and thank you so much, wonderful panelists. Yeah, we have to wrap it up. I think this is what we are going to do. We would love to follow it up with you, because in Indonesia, we are starting the family change-making movement, where we want each family to be able to practice simple things, simple behavior, simple routines that can help children to become change makers. And same in Nigeria. I think our Ashoka country offices in India and other places in the world would love to hear from you, mothers, and parents, and uncles, aunties who are here, your questions, your challenges, and your aspirations. So we will follow it up with a small survey that we will send to your email. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Sage Foundation, SMP, and the whole Ashoka Mina for Get Wiser Summit. We hope to see you again in the next session of
We gotta do this again.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Go ahead, Amelia. I just wanted to say thank you. And in Nigeria, we have a parent network that is quite engaged. Yeti is a part of it, because our goal is to really, or certainly my goal as a VP of Empathy, is to make sure every single second grader masters empathy, conscious empathy-based living for the good of all. So if there's a way in which you think that this can be worked into whatever programming, whatever online platforms that you're doing, please reach out to me and I'll be sure to share all of my contact information with you. So thank you everyone for joining us, and please listen out, because Amelia and I are going to be taking this show on the road. We're doing it again, right, Amelia?
Yes, we should do. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone, and you'll hear from us. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Love you.
Thank you.
Stay for the whole thing.
Thank you, Yeti.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys, ladies.